My name is Barry Schnur. I'm the CEO of David Schnur Associates. Tom Barrett has been the CEO of Applied Plastics since 2019. Tom, thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, Barry.
Tom, I wanted to just, obviously we teed this up to talk about PTFE coatings and PTFE natural in particular. What should design and manufacturing engineers look for in a PTFE coating when they're thinking about process mandrels? And can you talk about differences between the various coatings offered by different companies?
Sure, thanks, Barry. Obviously the design and manufacturing engineer really must assess what's important in their process. What are the typical, attributes they're going to need to, develop a successful catheter and manufacturing process for that. So we typically get challenged around, features such as, durability. So, how durable is the coating and the mandrel going to be as part of their manufacturing process? What's the lubricious features of how much PTFE is in that mandrel? How smooth is that going to be? And obviously that leads right into those specific release characteristics. So, whether it's static or dynamic release, is it going to be sufficient for the type of process that they have involved? Heat resistance, so obviously depending on the process, you're going to see various heat impact on that process and on that mandrel. So it's very important to understand, what are the temperature variations, what are you going to see, and how will that coating, stand up to the process. And lastly, it's probably around, tolerancing. So can you use a supplier that's going to deliver tight and consistent tolerances? So what can your design accept? How tight of tolerances do you have to have? Typically, we're, making mandrels around, plus or minus 0.3. Do we typically, are we asked to go, tighter than that, plus or minus 2? Absolutely. Where we have to, and where obviously space is at a premium, we can manage those tolerances. In certain circumstances, we've been challenged to, hold tighter tolerances. So obviously, that's not the majority of our demand, but if we have the right diameter and the right controls in place, we can even hold tighter than that. So again, those are some of the key features and attributes of the process that the design and the manufacturing engineer really needs to think through as they select their coating supplier. From the market standpoint, clearly, there's differences in the PTFE suppliers in the market. A lot of that has to do with probably the type of processes they use, the type of coatings they use. Applied Plastics has been around and focused on the application of PTFE for, over 60 years. So we have a lot of experience in the application and obviously specifically in the application to the use in medical. So we've been, in the medical field for over 30 years, really focused on, the applications of PTFE. So the difference is, again, lubricity that we see in terms of how much, PTFE is in your coating. We talked a little bit about PTFE natural. PTFE natural is a clear PTFE coating. So, anytime you can put in, less colorant, you're going to be able to put in more PTFE. So we'd like to think that our coating has a high amount of PTFE and as a result is very lubricious. The other things we need to look at is durability. Again, the type of coating you put on. What's that?
So,
go ahead.
I was just going to ask. So, I mean, it's not just a difference in terms of the absence of a color, but right. We think as in the application process, in the process of applying this product to the mandrels as well. I mean, there's a clear, for anyone who hasn't seen it, if you take a PTFE coated mandrel or wire from Applied Plastics and you compare it, you will absolutely notice right away the difference in the surface finish, in the material itself.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it has to do with a lot of those things in terms of the preparation that we use and the coating process that we use, the thickness of the film we're able to put on. All those things are part of, delivering what we think is the most lubricious, mandrel available in the market today. And that also leads into, the durability. So, we have very tight tolerances and can put on a very consistent thin layer of PTFE, which, through the curing process becomes very, very durable and is very strong. And obviously as well, our process of application, which is proprietary, is really focused all around adhesion as well. So the ability to really promote excellent adhesion, which obviously goes right in line with durability and the continual use and repeated use of the mandrel in the process. We think these characterization and characteristics of a good, mandrel coating really add value to our process. And, we've heard time and time again that the applied plastics mandrel can last, multiple times longer than some of our competitors.
Right. So even if there may be some difference in terms of cost or other things, that tends to be made up for sure in reuse and other.
Absolutely. We've heard, a variety, obviously, depending on the process, we've heard, 2 or 3 times to 5 to 7 times to even multiple, times higher than that, again, depending on the application and the use. And, so we definitely think from a value perspective, when you look at it for the number of uses, we definitely feel that the applied plastics is a valuable, asset to anyone's manufacturing process.
Great, thank you. Yeah, particularly in early stages, R&D people and manufacturing engineers, as they're locking design and process in, need to iterate very quickly. Early stage device development, early stage manufacturing rollout. That accessibility of product is really important. What have you guys done to accelerate delivery of standard and custom coded products there?
That's a great question, Barry, and clearly, as the engineers face these development timelines on the new catheter, the new delivery systems, speed is critical, right? So speed is the challenge to be able to, compete and get out new iterations and get to your final design faster. So the last few years, we've really focused on, 2 main areas. The first being in 2020, we opened an online store. So currently we have, over 100 sizes of PTFE natural coated wire from 7 thousandths to 70 thousandths available in stock, whole sizes, and then from 7 thousandths up to 45 thousandths in half size increments. What's great about the store is it's really easy to use. It's available for you. So you go online, you pick your size, you put it into your shopping cart, and with a credit card, you can have stuff shipped out same day. So we're very focused on making sure we have ample inventory in there. Ship out same day, can be on your desk the next morning. Whether you need 3 sizes, 5 sizes, 1 size, it's available for you to select and use in your design iteration. So we think that's really been a help for a lot of the development engineers and the manufacturing engineers that are working on new products. We see a lot of repeat customers in there utilizing that capability and being able to get mandrels and wires, fine wires, overnight. The second area that we've really focused on is inventory. We carry a lot of inventory, so that's one of the focuses in terms of lots of different sizes. Particularly now, we'll talk a little later about supply chain. Obviously, the availability for stock is important to make sure that we can have very competitive lead times. So if you don't happen to see the size in that store, call your DSA rep or call customer service and ask us, because we carry a lot of both uncoated and coated wire. Since we are vertically integrated, meaning that we have coating facilities and our own straight and cut capabilities, we can process those orders relatively quickly and get them into your hands. And that's really what part of that inventory carrying is, because we know that you need unique sizes. And again, as Barry says, these iterations of design, hopefully we can find a size range that works into your desired need.
Very good. And finally, applied plastics traditionally, we've been talking about PTFE coated mandrels for reflow processing, catheter manufacturing, et cetera. I think increasingly we're seeing a range of different applications that are popping up. Can you talk about specific, uses of PTFE natural coating as part of a delivery system? Are there particular things that you're focused on, Tom, where you see a strength? Yeah,
actually a large percentage of our products that ship today are actually either a component into a catheter or a part of a delivery system. So, it has been, obviously over the years now been used in other applications besides mandrels. some of the characteristics we talked about earlier, I think, happen to work into, use within a component or a delivery system as well in terms of lubricity. It really helps the performance of the catheter. We've also seen consistent tolerancing, right? Our ability to deliver a very consistent product with a very lubricious and consistent process. And the other thing I think we've known more as the engineers design, smaller and smaller catheters and drive where space is absolutely, critical. Space is at a premium in that design. Our ability to hold tight tolerances has really enabled, the utilization of some of our product into some very, challenging designs. And I think, those capabilities are very important. And I think the last thing that maybe you don't think about at the beginning of the design, but really needs to be thought about is scalability. So if you're putting this into a catheter, you're putting it into a delivery system where you're going to have a product launch and you're going to have a ramp up, you have to go with a partner that has the capability and capacity to, expand with you. And Applied has definitely invested significantly in capital and in increasing our capacity. So, we're very comfortable with the demand quantities and the growth over the life cycle of your product, and can definitely have the capability to support that growth.
Great, thank you. Please do follow up with us on anything specific. Again, you can either get a hold of us through the DSA website and just send us questions with what you need.